time, your gateway to the world. A-F-R. American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday. It is January 16, 2013, and I hope you had a lovely day. I want to thank you for joining us here tonight, Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. And if you would like to join us for the text chat, our happy little family can be found at souljourneysradio.com, and just click in the top middle, listen and chat. And if you have any questions or comments tonight, don't be shy. Please feel free to give us a call at 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And just to let you know, you might want to have a pen and paper handy for tonight's show, because we are joined by one of the, well, I can't call him the father of essential oils, but he's definitely I think, the biggest and most intelligent, most versatile instructors on essential oils. He's written 17 books as on essential oils, healthy childbirth, and other topics, earthquakes and stuff as well. You can go to raindroptraining.com to find out more what he is doing there. But if you've heard, if you're familiar with essential oils, I'm sure you have heard of raindrop therapy, and he's one of the coordinators there. And carepublications.net is where you can find all of his books and DVDs, as well as other authors. CARE is the Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education. So I'm super delighted to have Dr. David Stewart with us here tonight, and thank the rest of you for joining us as well. But how are you doing tonight, David?
Doing very well, thank you.
So good to have you here tonight. You're going to be in Arkansas tomorrow, pretty close by, huh?
Yes, I am. I'm headed down there tomorrow morning to do a program on the healing oils of the Bible tomorrow evening in Jonesboro.
Okay, and that's the title of one of your books, and I think we did a show on that exact topic as well.
Yes, we did.
All right, and you have, I'm going to check here your calendar, and we'll definitely get into this a little bit later, but all sorts of things going on, from seminars to the different training courses you have as well. So I'd like to talk about how people can get involved in that. But many of your books are actual coursework in these training programs, right?
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Healing Oils of the Bible is one of them. What's your latest? The Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple, God's Love Manifest in Molecules. And isn't that, oh my gosh, so true. So how many of your books right now are just on essential oils?
Right now I have 5 books on essential oils. Okay. I have a number of brochures and smaller publications.
Okay, all right. And we've talked about this before, kind of your background. But if you could just kind of give us a Cliff Notes version, just in case this is the first time somebody hearing you. How did you go from, being a hydraulic engineer to working with essential oils?
Well, it wasn't a straight line path. Mm-hmm. I was actually an engineer, 1965, 1967, back in the mid-60s. And then I went back to graduate school and got a Ph.D. in geophysics and seismology. And then for the next 8 years, I was a professor of earthquake seismology at the University of North Carolina. And then I went to the University of Missouri at Rolla, at Cape Girardeau. And while I was there, around that time, I wrote 5 books on earthquakes, mainly focused on the New Madrid Fault, which is somewhere in southeast Missouri and northeast Arkansas. And so those books are mentioned on the website carepublications.net. But then somewhere in those years, my wife and I decided, we prayed a lot. We have 5 children, and we were led to have all our children at home. And we never had a midwife or a doctor. We didn't want to do it that way, but there were no doctors and no midwives available the years that we were having our children. So we just studied a lot, prayed a lot. I even took a semester of obstetrics at the University of North Carolina School of Medicine. I didn't need that for having our own children, but later my wife and I together wrote 7 books on childbirth matters. We wrote books on midwifery, on home birth, natural birth, breastfeeding. The most popular thing that I ever wrote was published by La Leche League, and it was on breastfeeding. And they published a little flyer on that I wrote. It was in 10 languages and sold 2 million copies in a few years.
Oh, wow.
So I was better known as a breastfeeding authority in those years.
and not just through personal experience.
Yeah, no, not personally, but my wife set the example on that.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's so good to know that so many people are kind of realizing this whole starting your lives off in hospitals, being drugged up is, kind of takes away from that bond, and not only our own natural intelligence, people, animals, still, of course, have babies and don't need any interference, and of course, women. So it's really good to see people going back to that. But you know what? Let me ask you this in regards to that topic. I've talked with people who have either just had a baby or about to have a baby, and they like essential oils. In fact, they love essential oils, but their doctor tells them to stay away from them while they're pregnant, and especially while breastfeeding. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, those doctors that say that they just don't know. They don't have any knowledge about the oils, and that's the problem. But certainly you can use lots of oils while you're pregnant. It's good to inhale them and rub them on your body and use them in your daily life. In biblical times, women would rub myrrh on their bodies and inhale it during their pregnancy because myrrh it creates peace of mind, relieves anxiety. And so it's a very good oil for that kind of thing, for having a nice frame of mind when you're expecting a child. And then they would diffuse myrrh during labor, which would calm the mother and create a calm situation for birth. Mm-hmm. And then when the baby was born, they would put myrrh on the umbilical cord, which is very antiseptic and would prevent any kind of infection. And the mothers in biblical times would rub their abdomens with myrrh, which they thought and said that it would take away stretch marks. And then if a baby was born of a priestly family or of a royal family, he would be anointed. They would rub frankincense on his little newborn body, which is Jesus, of course, received frankincense when he was a baby.
Yes. Okay. I know, when I was pregnant, anyways, that was long before I knew anything about essential oils. My only experience at that time, of course, was peppermint oil, which I did inhale and saved my life for the nausea and, all of that good morning fun. Of course, in retrospect, it's one of those, I wish I'd have known then what I know now, but which is why I think it's just, really important to get this information out there. So, myrrh and frankincense, of course, were 2 of the 3 gifts given from the wise men in biblical times. Of course, you talk about that more in depth in your book, Healing Oils of the Bible. But what other oils do you believe all oils are safe for pregnant and nursing women?
Well, is a subject that's been debated. There are some oils, and if you read books that are written by people trained in Great Britain, they have a different viewpoint of the oils than we do in this country or in France, for example. The British way of thinking of oils is that they really ought to be just used for massage and for pleasant fragrances, and they don't really use them for therapeutic or healing purposes, and that's because, for one thing, they dilute them. They only use about 2 or 3% essential oil in a carrier like jojoba or olive oil. So they never use the concentrated pure oils, and they don't see the healing results. And they will tell you that certain oils could precipitate a miscarriage. But they're simply saying that out of the top of their heads. They don't have any data. They don't have even one example that they can cite of that ever happening. Yeah. And I don't know of any. And the people I know here in this country who use the oils that we have, they use them in their pregnancies. My daughter-in-law used a lot of oils in her pregnancy. Lavender would certainly be a wonderful one to use, and if you're having a little morning sickness, the peppermint oil, like you mentioned, would be great. Put a drop or two in some drinking water, or you can use patchouli oil and just inhale that and rub it on your abdomen, and that's supposed to relieve morning sickness. And so we see no problem at all. It is important, though, that you're using good pure oils, and a lot of the oils that are easily available in retail stores are not pure, and so you need to be sure you're getting oils from a good, reputable company that specializes in therapeutic grade oils. But I don't see any problem with oils in pregnancy. Unfortunately, my wife and I didn't know anything about the oils when we were having our babies. It wasn't until 10 or 12 years after we had our last child that we finally found the oils. So we can't speak from personal experience, but our grandkids and our daughters-in-laws, and they're using the oils, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny to me that I think we've talked about some of my past experiences health-wise here where I'll just give one example. When I was paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair, I had discovered, that Mother Nature and God was at least a little bit smarter than man. So I started implementing God's medicine in my life, proper nutrition, essential oils, seaweed, things like that. And my last time going to the doctor, I was able to support my own weight without the chair. And I was so excited. I'm like, Doctor, look, I am going to walk again, despite what they had told me. And, I still wasn't walking all that great at the time, but from complete paralysis and no motor control to being able to hold my weight and even walk sideways like a crab and fall over, I would have thought would have been cause for celebration. Instead, he was warning me, you have to stay away from this stuff. These nutritional supplements and health products and essential oils can be dangerous. And, I'm like, well, how else are we supposed to get proper nutrition given the depletion of our soil and this and that? And he's like, that's such nonsense. You can get all the nutrition you need from the food you buy in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Needless to say, that was my last trip to a doctor. I think that was maybe like the end of 2007. And by mid-2008, I was walking again. About 9 months later, I was walking totally normal again, like I am today. So, but the funny thing to me is, they want to scare us away from using these things, and I understand it might be based on what they're taught in medical school. But see, the truth is there actually is scientific evidence that these things can help you. I mean, you're familiar with the National Institute or the National Library of Medicine, correct?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not very familiar with it.
Okay, well, anyone can go to PubMed.gov and you can type in essential oils and see with your own eyes. Last time I did that was a few days ago, and there were 11,388 studies and published reports of the effectiveness of essential oils on, a variety of means. If you look for just essential oils and cancer, there's 486 published reports of their effectiveness. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. They want us to believe, there's no evidence that this works, besides our own personal experience and, people that you get to reach out to on a daily basis. But the so-called experts actually do know. Mm-hmm. It's kind of sad. I'm going to be posting those direct links here in the text chat at souljourneysradio.com so you guys can see with your own eyes. But like I said, just go to pubmed.gov. There's a little search bar up in the top left and type in essential oils or type in essential oils cancer, essential oils pregnancy, essential oils, whatever it is that you are looking for. So next time, doctors try to scare you away and tell you that there is no evidence, you might want to remind them to go to their library, the end-all, be-all of medical information.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool find, I thought, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, I guess we have to know where to look. But essential oils, in fact, I've probably talked about it on the show here before. And you and I talked before the show. We have a similar experience in helping a gentleman with gangrene. Not only me, myself here in Hollister, but you as well. But I hear the music, so let's talk about that when we come back after this short break. Stay tuned. Dr. David Stewart here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also, check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks again for joining us here tonight with Dr. David Stewart. He is an author of 17 books, 5 of which all about essential oils, which is actually course material for the CARE program, and many others, and 7 are on childbearing and breastfeeding. So he is just a storehouse of information. So glad to have you here tonight. And David, yeah, so the gangrene, of course, mainstream wants us to believe that the cure for gangrene is amputation.
Yeah.
Tell us about your story.
Well, mine is a friend of mine, and she was sitting in a hospital waiting room, and there was another man in there, and she said, well, what are you here for? And he says, well, my legs have degenerated into gangrene, and they're scheduling a time for me to come back later in the week. They're going to amputate both my legs. And she says, oh, no, don't do that. And she happened to have a bottle of lavender, and she poured it on his legs and rubbed it all over, and then followed up with that in the next few days, and his gangrene went away, and he didn't need to have his legs amputated. And that was just lavender oil.
Excellent. That is really, really good to know, David, because I shared with you my story when I made an oil. It was specifically just for bugs and wounds and, burns and poison ivy, things like that. But when Ricky, I guess anyone can Google gangrene Ricky's story and see the video with your own eyes, I really didn't know what exactly cured it. I just knew something in there was, and I treated him 8 times and completely gangrene free. And in fact, people who have seen him since, it's almost, I guess it is. It's been a whole year later. We're January 2013. Okay.
Wow.
It's been a whole year later and his legs are still perfect. Despite, other medical treatments he's still choosing to go through. But yeah, so that's really good to know that, you just have a good therapeutic grade lavender oil and such that can help you all through that. That's so wonderful. What did the guy say when his legs were healed? Was he blown away?
Well, he was blown away, of course. And that made me stop and think about how aromatherapy got rediscovered in the 20th century. A scientist working in a perfume laboratory in France, his name was René Caudefassi, had a terrible burn, and it was developing into gangrene. And so he just took his arms, which were severely burned, and plunged them into a vat of lavender oil, and they began to heal, and the gangrene went away, and he was completely recovered from that. So actually the way that essential oils and their healing powers was rediscovered in the 20th century was from a gangrene situation.
Okay. Now, so that wasn't Renee.
Caudefassi was his name.
Okay, all right. I thought it was the way I read the story. I thought it was like a burn, and he was just reaching for something. Maybe thought it was water, didn't know what it was, but he had no scarring, no swelling, no anything, just literally completely gone. Yeah,
it was a burn, but it had developed into gangrene before he found the lavender oil.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. And, thank you, Caudefassi, for reintroducing essential oils in the 20th century. Now, we're just talking about a few things here, but, there's somebody on the chat that said she is pregnant, and her doctor is telling her to avoid even not only essential oils, but even herbal tea because of the effects of different drugs during pregnancy being unknown. Yeah. And I do want to say, technically, yes, that is true. Some herbs can induce, early birth or even abortion and such. So, but to your knowledge, do any essential oils, are they capable of doing that, or in your opinion, have they proved to be safe?
Well, to my knowledge, they've proved to be safe. There's no research to verify that certain oils will cause miscarriages, although in British literature you read those kind of warnings. But when you find out the research they're citing a few cases where a woman was deliberately trying to abort her baby, and she would drink a whole bottle of essential oil in order to induce that. Of course, that's not what we call the practice of aromatherapy. That's the abuse of oils.
Yeah, definitely.
And, we're not talking about that. And then they can cite a couple of examples of that. And then they have another study they like to cite where they had a rat that they had cut open and the uterus was exposed, and they dropped a couple of drops of some oils on that uterus, and it contracted. Well, if they had put cold water on that uterus, it would have contracted. And they're using that as evidence that oils could induce contractions and create a miscarriage. But there aren't any actual examples of a person using essential oils by breathing them or just applying them to their skin or using them in a normal way, even in capsules, that has caused a miscarriage. It's never happened. So there's no evidence for that, even though some people will cite it. Now, the oils that even those who are wary of oils in pregnancy will say that the lavender is okay, that you can use that. and use it on the skin and breathe it. But in my experience, the people that I know, since we've been in the oils that are expecting babies, use a lot of oils in their pregnancy. My daughter-in-law right now is expecting a baby next month. We'll have our 13th grandchild in February.
Aw, congratulations.
Thank you. And she's using oils right now. She's using, she's using cypress oil and, let's see what else, another oil that she was using. But because her midwife told her that her blood pressure was higher than it should be, so she just applied ylang-ylang. I see another one. She can apply a little ylang-ylang to her neck area or some cypress to her heart area. And that just takes her blood pressure right down. And and then, of course, for morning sickness, you can use patchouli oil or peppermint oil, and that's been used for a long time. And I just don't see any harm. I don't know of any cases, and my other daughters-in-law used oils when they were pregnant, and no problem. In fact, one of my daughters-in-law was pregnant, and the head was not turned down, and it was getting close to labor time, and almost all of my grandchildren have been born at home with a midwife. And in this case, she was planning a home birth. The midwife was concerned that they were going to have a breech delivery, so she went over to the midwife's clinic, and it's in the last month of pregnancy, and the midwife checked, and she says, yeah, sure enough, the head is not turned down, but the midwife had a technique where she can turn that baby before it's born and get it positioned right. So she said, well, let me go over to the clinic for a minute and I'll come back and we'll get that baby turned. Meanwhile, my daughter-in-law was kind of sleepy, and she had a bottle of myrrh, so she just poured it all over her abdomen and massaged her belly and then went to sleep. When she came back, the midwife checks and the baby had turned around.
Wow, wonderful. Well, who is this midwife, just in case anyone needs one? Is it here in Missouri?
Yes, yes.
Does she have a website in case there's somebody wanting a midwife doing a home birth, nearby?
Well, I don't know of any websites. There's quite a few midwives throughout the country that will do home births. You find out about them through word of mouth. I don't know of any website you could go to, at least not in Missouri that I know of. But there's midwives, and they do home births.
Okay. All right. Well, if I happen to know of somebody who's facing that situation, then I'll just have to give you a call, and maybe you can hook her up with her. Yeah. I understand it's kind of hard to, they're kind of not necessarily outlawing it per se here yet, like they have in other countries, but it's certainly frowned upon. So
yeah, the doctors are jealous of the business that they get and would like to put midwives out of business, but there are plenty of them out there. But they kind of have to not be too public about what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. Okay, so, now we could talk about thousands of examples here where they have worked and changed people's lives tremendously, but here's the question. Why do they work?
Why do the essential oils work?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I have an 800-page book on that.
Chemistry
but I
of
won't
essential
talk about
oils,
800 pages for tonight. But the oils are really very amazing because everybody knows that we have a physical body because you can touch it and you can feel it. You've got fingers and toes and a head, and that's not debatable. But what a lot of people don't realize that we also have an electromagnetic field, which is not visible to our physical eyes, but is just as real. Yes. And doctors actually know that, and they take advantage of it by measuring your EKG or an EEG, your electrical fields for your heart or your brain. But the oils actually work in both realms. They work in the physical realm and the electromagnetic realm. And that's part of their special abilities, which is not available through any pharmaceutical drugs. They're just chemical physical things. But the thing is, we all believe from the book of Genesis that we're created in God's image, and yet we're not perfect. Why aren't we manifesting the perfection that should be there? And there are spiritual reasons for that. But what happens is if we become physically ill, it's usually first reflected in our electromagnetic field. And there are people that are sensitive to see that and sense that field, and can actually see a sickness coming on before it manifests in the physical body. Yes. And what the oils do is they not only administer physically at cellular levels throughout our bodies, but they also interact with the electromagnetic field. In fact, the raindrop technique that we teach, where it got its name, is the oils are dropped from about 6 inches above your spine onto your back, going through your electromagnetic field, which extends a few inches from your body, before it gets to your physical body. And the oils will begin to administer their therapy at that level before they do their healing at the physical level. And that's one reason why oils are able to accomplish things that regular physical medicines can't do. And that's why they can work on the gangrene. You know, gangrene is dead tissue. And whenever somebody's healed of a gangrenous condition, you have really done a resurrection from death. That's what that amounts to, the death of certain tissues. And the way that works is that the oils work, so even though your physical tissues may be dead, your electromagnetic field is still there. And if you can pull that energy, which is still perfect, into the physical body, you can resurrect the gangrenous tissue and bring it back to life. That's what's happening. And so the oils are working in a way totally different than any pharmaceutical, because they work on both the electromagnetic level and the physical. And they bring together God's image, which is there in the electric field, which has been temporarily disturbed in the physical field, and bring it back in manifestation. So that's how they work.
I really love that you acknowledge that aspect of humanity, Dr. Stewart, and I know, how well received is that? Because when I talk about these things here in Branson, there's a lot of locals that, they'll use church or Bible teachings to prove that I'm a witch doctor. How well received have you been, at least in the church communities?
Well, actually, I pretty much go to church communities where I've been invited, so I'm always well received.
I'm so sorry, David. Hold that right there, please. We got to take another short break, but we will pick up right where we left off after these few short minutes. Stay tuned. Dr. David Stewart here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Yo, what's up? Check this out. The voice of the revolution. American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Tonight with Dr. David Stewart here on SoulJourneysRadio.com. His website is raindroptraining.com, or you can go to carepublications.net. That's carepublications.net. And get access to all he's doing at the Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education, as well as access to all of his books, extremely informative books and DVDs, might I say. But, David, so you still get invited to church, you're saying?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm a regular member of the Methodist Church here in my hometown, and my wife directs the choir and plays the piano, and I play the organ on Sundays when I'm there.
Excellent. All right. Okay. I mean, I guess I do get a couple invitations here and there, but for the most part, it is, people kind of take a step back. It's like, wait, I heard that was witchcraft. That's sorcery. That's of the devil. And, funny thing, in fact, I'll use my roommate my landlord, for example. When she has issues that need to be tended to, she sneaks over to my house and will leave, 20 to 45 minutes to an hour later, completely healed. The problem is she can't tell her family or anyone else about it, and, or even write a testimonial or talk about it. So it's funny how secret it is, and she'll, tease me, that's of the devil, and I'll be like, okay, well, how does it feel to know that the devil healed you?
That's right.
You did have an experience, though. I remember you told us a couple years ago, we're in church, somebody was pretty much, deathly ill, and you helped them, but they still didn't want to read your books or learn any more about it. Did I remember that correctly?
Well, I had an experience with my pastor. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, where he had had double pneumonia, and he was coughing up blood, and had been to the emergency room, and they had given him cough medicine and an antibiotic and some sleeping pills, but none of that was helping. And after about 4 days after he was in the emergency room, he was still coughing up blood, and he couldn't keep any food or drink down, and he was getting weaker. And he didn't know what to do, because if he went back to the hospital in the emergency room and the doctor, they had already told him that they couldn't help the bleeding in his lungs. Well, ultimately, he asked me if I would come over to his house with some oils, and I did. I brought hyssop oil, frankincense oil, and a blend of oils called Exodus 2, which is actually the holy anointing oil described in Exodus with some extra things in it. I took those 3 to his home, and his wife was there with him. And when I went back in the morning to visit him, he was almost in a coma. He was only half conscious, and his color was terrible looking. And so I put hyssop oil in a diffuser, and I put his head right up next to it, and I said, here, start breathing. And then I massaged his feet with hyssop oil and his back and his chest, poured some frankincense and rubbed it into his head, and then gave him some of that holy anointing oil in his mouth and asked him to swallow it. And within minutes, his color came back, and he was feeling much better. And then he called for some Kleenex and he began to cough. And then he looked in the Kleenex, and he said, look, there's no blood. The hemorrhaging had stopped in his lungs immediately. So I told him, well, why don't you rest, and I'll come back check on you later today. And I did. And when I came back about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, he was sitting up in bed in his bathrobe reading my book, Healing Oils of the Bible, which I'd given him about 6 months earlier, and I don't think he'd looked at it, but now he was looking at it. And he was drinking some orange juice, and he said, this is the first thing I've been able to keep down for the last 4 days. He said, I'm not completely well, but I'm really much better. And so I said, well, let me anoint you again. And I did. I rubbed his chest and his back and his feet and his head. And then as I was leaving, he laid down and started going to sleep, so I just left. And the next morning I came back just to see how he was doing. And he met me at the door, fully dressed, with his shoes on. And this was on a Friday. And he said, "Come in, sit down." He said, "Guess what?" He said, "I'm totally healed. I don't have any trace of the pneumonia." And he said,
Wow.
"I didn't believe I would make it to church Sunday, but now I'm preparing my sermon notes. I got them right here." And that Sunday, he told the whole congregation how he had been miraculously healed with the anointing of oils. And I would have expected that many people in our church would get interested in the oils and ask us about them, but there wasn't even one member of the church that came to us to find out about it.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow. That is such a great story. And you know what? I mean, you're still turning hearts and planting seeds, and maybe later in their life, they'll be facing a situation, and after, doctors give up on them, or maybe they give up on the drugs the doctors give them, they'll be back to read your book or back to ask for your help. So that's so beautiful, and I'm glad you were there to help him.
Well, it's totally my privilege.
Definitely. Let me ask you this. There's a question on the chat for you. It reads, "My daughter has been struggling with a very enlarged foot with severe swelling. Just had an MRI, and there's no fracture, but the swelling of her foot is twice its size and very hard on top of her foot. She's had this foot thing for 10 years. Any suggestions for oils?"
Well, let's see. Do I understand it's just only on one foot? And is it fluid retention, or is it some other kind of swelling?
That was all the information given. But if you're still listening and in the text chat, please feel free to share more information about it.
Okay. Well, I know that fluid retention in the feet and legs, if it's severe and it's going on for weeks and months at a time, is a sign that you're emotionally clinging to things that you really need to let go of, and that's your body's way of reminding you that you have issues that you don't need anymore and just let them go. I had an interesting experience. I was doing a program down in Meridian, Mississippi a couple of years ago, and that afternoon I was doing a program on emotional releasing with oils. And I noticed as people were coming in, this one lady was sitting at the back of the room against the wall instead of up front where the chairs were at. So before the meeting started, I went back and I said, "You'll be able to hear and see a lot better if you come up here with the other people." And she said, "Well, I have this swelling in my legs," and she had her shoes off and her feet up on a chair, and she said, "I can't sit very still, and I don't want to bother anymore, and I just need to stay back here where I can move around and keep my feet up." So I told her, I said, "That's all right, just do whatever you need to do." But she did come up and sit in the back row of the chairs. Well, partially through the meeting, and I always do this, I say, "Well, why don't you name me a physical condition, and I'll tell you what the emotion is behind it." And she hurriedly raised her hand and said, "How about swelling in the legs and feet?" And I said, "That means that you're hanging on to issues that you should be letting go of." Mm-hmm. And then a little later in the meeting, and I always do this, everybody had put their name in a basket. There were about 80 people there, and so I draw a name out, and then they come up and get on the massage table, and we run through an emotional releasing protocol with the oils. And wouldn't you know that out of those 70 or 80 people, her name was the one drawn.
Ah.
So I knew that somebody upstairs was really in control there and had chosen her. So we went through the emotional releasing routine, and when she sat up on the table, it only took about 40 minutes. She said, "Boy," she said, I have really let go of a lot of issues, and I really feel free." And I said, "Well, that's wonderful." Well, that evening, this is in the afternoon, I was going to do a Bible oils program, and she was not planning to come. But when we started to gather for that meeting in the evening, she walked in the door, and she said, "Dr. Stewart, look, I am wearing some shoes that I haven't been able to get on my feet for months." She said, "Shortly after I went home this afternoon, all of a sudden, all of the fluid in my legs just drained out, and they're back to normal again." And so there was a good example of how physical maladies reflect emotional issues, and if you resolve the issues, the malady can just go away.
Excellent. Very good. And thank you for sharing that with us. We do have several callers on the line, so we will get to you after this short break. Thanks so much for your patience. But hang on, we will be back. Dr. David Stewart, his website is raindroptraining.com, or you can go to carepublications.net, but we will be right back. Stay tuned, souljourneysradio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules, no rules. No taboo topics, no taboo topics. No fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. And if you would like to join us for the text chat, that's over at SoulJourneysRadio.com. Any questions or comments, the phone number is 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525, and I apologize. I got the caller line open a little bit late, so anyways, I'm here now and see that we have been keeping a few people waiting, so we will get to you. And Dr. Stewart, we have a long line of questions in the chat as well, but let's get to the callers right away. Area code 905, welcome to the show. Hi there, caller, area code 905. Okay, it looks like we're having some technical issues, so please feel free to call back. Our next caller tonight is area code 770. Welcome to the show. We got another one. Interesting. Area code 770. Do we have a live one? All righty. Okay, moving on. Area code 717 is up next. Welcome to the show. Do we have a live one here? Area code 717. All righty. Well, maybe somebody's playing games or something's going on. That's really weird. All those callers and, Okay. Well, all righty, so let's get to the questions in the chat. We did get a little bit more information from the one asking asking about the enlarged foot, and it was for her daughter. She says that it's only her right foot. It came on at age 17 when she fractured her second metatarsal on her toes. It was not properly taken care of at that time. It gets bigger and more swelling on long rides, plane rides, etc. What raindrop oils would you use for her?
Well, I would suggest maybe an oil like cypress oil, which stimulates circulation, and that could help drain any excess fluids out of the foot, and I would be massaging that upwards from the foot and up the calf of the leg, getting the fluids to go back up through the lymphatic system and back where they belong. That's the oil I would suggest. and you might try that and see if that helps.
Okay, so cypress oil. Okay. Let's see. Someone else is asking, what would you recommend for lymph flow and blockages?
For lymphatic flow?
Uh-huh.
Well, cypress, the oil I just named, is excellent for that. Cypress particularly addresses the lymphatic system and its cardiovascular system, and it actually stimulates white corpuscle growth as well, so that people that are on chemotherapy can breathe cypress oil and maybe take capsules of it during and following chemo to help restore the damage the chemo has done to their white blood cells.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, when we're talking about oils here, I know a common teaching is that we are not to take them internally and we are not supposed to use them neat or directly on our skin. And, well, I definitely don't follow those rules, and it doesn't sound like you're following those rules exactly either. So what is the truth about that?
Well, the difference is in the quality of oils that you're using. If you buy oils from a source that you really don't know about that source, or from a retail outlet, or they're inexpensive oils, they probably aren't pure, they probably weren't distilled properly, they don't have the proper balance of constituents, they may contain adulterants and who knows what. And those kinds of oils you probably should avoid. You shouldn't take them internally. They might be all right for a massage if you dilute them with a massage oil. But we use only the oils from one company where I visited their distilleries, and I have been to their farms, and I know the owner. And they are very pure, and they're totally safe to take internally, rub on your skin, let them be absorbed in the tissues of your mouth. Any way you want to take the oils is safe. And we've been doing it now for more than 12 years, and I've seen only good results with them.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful. For example, that we were talking earlier about gangrene and using lavender oil. You have to be sure you have a good therapeutic grade of lavender, and that's one of the most corrupted oils because it's popular. A lot of companies sell what they call lavender, and it's not even the same species. It's lavandin, which is a plant that grows. It's related to the lavender plant, and most of the constituents in lavandin oil are the same as in lavender, except that it also contains camphor, which doesn't exist at all in lavender oil. And so they'll grow lavandin, which they can get 4 times as many liters of oil from an acre of lavandin than they can get lavender, and then they take it to the chem lab and try to remove all the camphor that they can and sell it for lavender. But that oil will not heal a burn, and it won't heal gangrene. So you just got to be careful you got the right brand that you know is pure. Otherwise, you won't get the results I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I've definitely experienced that myself. And while the, chemical copycats might smell good and be good for massage, like you're saying, they're definitely not going to work. You're not going to experience the same things that we've been talking about here tonight. And I have also experienced when I first got started in essential oils and, didn't really know what brands, which now I use multiple brands for different oils. But back then I had spilt some in my kitchen, and literally just a couple drops went flying and 8 holes in my juicer.
No kidding. You don't want to put that on your skin.
No, you definitely don't. So I think I have a bath story with a similar situation where I put him in the bath, and then I had all these red marks and, ended up with some welts on my body as well. So, there is a huge difference. So make sure you trust where you get the oils, and if you have the opportunity, like myself or Dr. David Stewart here, to actually meet the farmers and go to the farms and the distilleries. Of course, that's always first choice. But yeah, there are many brands out there that, are putting good products out there. So just be mindful and don't be afraid to ask questions. Now, David, somebody's asking on the text chat about high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. What kind of oils would you recommend for high blood pressure?
Well, you can take cypress oil and rub that on your heart. You can take ylang-ylang oil and then rub that gently on the carotid arteries in your neck. You can also take, there's a blend of oils that Young Living has called Aroma Life, which contains some of the oils I just named, but it's a blend especially for addressing the heart and cardiovascular. And you can rub that on the heart reflex point on their left hand, which is just below the ring finger on the first line in your hand that you encounter when you go below that ring finger. And we used to use a demonstration in our care classes where we'd say, okay, who's got the highest blood pressure? And somebody'd raise their hand. We'd actually measure the blood pressure, and then we would take the ylang-ylang and put it on their neck and the Aroma Life and the cypress, and they could rub that on their heart area, and then somebody would be putting it on the reflex point on the left hand. And then 20 minutes later, we'd take their blood pressure again, and it'd be back down to normal.
Ah, okay, just like that. Ling-lang, cypress, and what else did you mention for that?
Well, Aroma Life, that's a Young Living brand that they have. It's a blend that's specifically formulated for administering to the heart and the cardiovascular system. It's Aroma Life, it's called. And you can even have, if you're having chest pains, you can just hurriedly put some Aroma Life on your chest or even just cypress oil, and those pains will go away within a minute or two.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you this. A really good point came up in the chat. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. This was in reference to the essential oil that ate holes in my juicer. And she said that plastic is made from crude oil. So maybe a more aggressive essential oil can do that to plastic while not harming human cells. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there may be some truth to that. For example, we use a wintergreen oil that's perfectly pure and therapeutic, and we put it directly on the skin because it administers to the bones and joints. It's one of the raindrop oils, but it'll eat fingernail polish right off of your fingers, and it will affect plastic. It won't affect Teflon, but it will affect plastic. But it won't. But you can take it internally. I've taken capsules of it and put it on my skin and breathe it. It's okay for a human. But that she might be right. There are certain plastics that some of the oils will dissolve.
Yeah, okay, that is a really good point. So thanks for bringing that up, and maybe I'll try using that oil again.
Yeah, it's not a bad oil necessarily. It just may be that it's the wrong oil for that application.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Here's a few more questions here. There's one. It reads, my old man has a tumoral calcinosis. It's a possible cyst that turned into calcification. He's got to get it removed eventually, but is there anything he can try to make the body absorb it properly or have the skin reject it like you see with tumors using black cells?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say two things. If it's a calcification, like in a joint or a bone spur or something like that, the best oil that we have is a blend called RC. That's capital R, capital C. It's really intended for respiratory congestion, but it has the property of being able to dissolve bone spurs and calcification. I had a calcified shoulder a few years ago, and I couldn't lift my arm up above my head, and I could hardly get dressed and put a shirt on. And so I applied that oil on my shoulder every day for a couple of months. It was not a really fast procedure, but after about 2 months, the calcification totally disappeared. That was about 3 or 4 years ago, and it never came back. And so I solved that one with the RC oil. Now, if it's a cyst, The oil for that is balsam fir, and you just rub that in the area of the cyst, and it should go away. I had a friend of mine that had a cyst that was on her throat. It was quite visible, and she didn't like the appearance of it or the feeling of it. And she'd had it surgically removed, but 6 or 8 months later it would come back. So she asked me about it, and I said, well, put balsam fir on it. And she did, and within a week the cyst disappeared, and it never came back.
Excellent. Okay, that is really good to know. Thanks so much for answering that. There's a few more. The questions are lining up here. So the next one, Dr. Stewart, is what oils to use for memory loss due to heart surgery?
Well, the oils that seem to work best for memory are cedarwood oil. I'd start with that. And cedarwood is a natural oil that's found in the wood of the cedar tree. And if you have a piece of cedarwood, you can smell it. If you have a cedar chest at home, you can smell the oil. That's what fragrance is. And that has the property of getting all the neurons in your brain connected and working, and it's very good for mental clarity. And I think it's interesting that King Solomon, who we regard as the wisest king of the Bible, built his palace and his temple out of cedarwood so that he would be breathing that fragrance 24 hours a day. And that probably had something to do with why he could think so clearly and be so wise. So that would be the number one that I would recommend is cedarwood oil. And there are probably others. And
what do you think about rosemary?
A blend of oils that our company sells called Brain Power.
Oh?
And it's got cedarwood but several other oils in it. Another oil that's really good for mental retention and concentration is peppermint oil, just breathing it. Mm-hmm. Lemon oil has the same property. They have found out that if they have a room full of accountants doing tedious calculations and arithmetic, if they diffuse lemon oil in the room, they will make very significantly fewer mistakes. And they also have done tests on students in classrooms where they give a group of students will divide them into two parts, and in one room they will diffuse peppermint oil, and in the other room they won't. And the students in the room with peppermint oil will get 25% higher scores.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, let me see. Here's another question. I have muscle tension dysphonia and have had over 25 years. Is there any oil that would help with that?
Did you say muscle tension dysphonia?
That's what I'm reading here.
Okay, I guess I'm not sure what that is. Is it something involved with his hearing? Is that what he's saying? I don't know how to answer the question because I don't really understand what he's asking for. Yeah,
there maybe there was a typo or something in there. So let's see. I'll return in the chat. Can you rephrase your question, please? Okay, so we'll get back to that. In the meantime, here's another one. What about a cervical disc that's pushing on the spine? I have opted out of fusion for 5 years, but my arms are becoming unusable. My disc is protruding out, hitting my spine like it's squeezing. So if there's anything you could recommend. But I hear the music, so we got to take a short little break, but we will be right back to answer those questions and everything else we have here. So hang on, everyone. Dr. David Stewart.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks again for joining us here tonight with Dr. David Stewart. He is an author of 17 books, and we are talking about the healing power of essential oils tonight. For more information about David and everything he does, you can go to raindroptraining.com or carepublications.net, and be sure to check the calendar for seminars and training events. I did get more information on the dysphonia question, but if you heard, I guess we'll just finish up the one I asked you before break and then get back to that. So, which was it? Okay, about the cervical disc that's pushing on her spine. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, the best thing I know for that is a raindrop session. That takes about an hour and involves 9 different oils. And people with those kind of back problems who can receive that raindrop, in her case, I would say she might need it once a week for a while. She might see miraculous results. I know many people that have, and I actually am one of them. I had a back problem, not quite like hers, but I had suffered back pain every day for 43 years from an injury that I had way back in 1956. And I received the raindrop technique in September of 1999. First time I'd ever received it, my wife administered it to me. And my back pain completely disappeared, and my back was healed instantly, and it's been that way now for more than 12 years.
Ah, okay. And so we can find a raindrop therapist or practitioner on your website, right?
Yeah, there's a list there called Care-Approved Raindrop Facilitators. Those are people that we've trained, and then later they came back and took a test where we observed them doing raindrop and everything, and they are doing it correctly, and they know what they're doing. So everybody on that list is somebody that we have tested and trained.
Okay, all right, and you can find that on raindroptraining.com,
yes,
and I got the link, and I'm posting it here in the text chat. So, okay, thank you for that. Now, getting back to that dysphonia, that was something new to me as well, but apparently it's an impairment in the ability to produce voice sounds using the vocal organs, according to my little tiny search I did online during the break. And she followed up saying that, yes, it affects the voice. It squeezes muscles in the throat, including her vocal cords. She said she got Botox injections into vocal cords for years and had her last injection 2 weeks ago. Her voice sounds strangled and strained all the time. That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are certain oils that you can rub on your throat that will help with voice matters. Singers do it, and oils like hyssop oil is one of them. And let's see, another oil would be cypress oil. And you could even try helichrysum oil. And I just put it on the throat. And very often that can take care of problems like that, where people kind of lose their voice.
Okay. All right. That sounds, I'm not sure, I'm going to do some more research into that myself. Is Botox really safe? That could be, I found often it's not what we need to add to our diet, or, it's what we need to take away. So that might be a consideration for that listener. So here's another question for you, Dr. Stewart. Are there any oils that would work well for a type of seizure, say the kind when you have memory lapses and are unaware of what's going on around you?
Well, you might use the brain oils like cedarwood, peppermint, and lemon oil for that, just breathing them and maybe even rubbing them. And you can rub frankincense on your scalp. You can do that with cedarwood. But if you rub Valor oil, that's a blend that we have. It's got spruce and frankincense and rosewood in it. And rubbing that at the base of the skull, back at the back of your head, in that low place there in the center of your skull, and massaging that back there can even stop a seizure once it begins. And it's a very balancing oil and gets you all your system all back the way it should be. And so I would say applying Valor oil would be a good thing.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. And it looks like we have a few more callers on the line, so hopefully they are real calls. So we're going to try this again. Area code 770. Welcome to the show. Do we have a caller? Area code 770. All right. Okay, let's try this again. Next caller, area code 678. Welcome to the show. Do we have a live one? Or is someone playing games with us? Or is our caller line just, I don't know, being redirected somewhere else? This is kind of strange. Okay, area code 678. Gone. All right, let's move on to the next one. Area code 904. Welcome to the show. Oh, I hear someone there. Area code 904. Can you hear us? I'm hearing weird noises. I guess we can try that again. And the last call, area code 337. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Christie. Really enjoying the program.
One.
The doc's right on the money on the oils.
Definitely.
This is White Wolf. I hope you can hear me because it's breaking on your line.
Okay, we can hear you well, so I guess that answers the question, is it the caller line that's not working, or is someone messing with us? So, all right, good to hear from you, White Wolf. Please continue.
Thank you. Thank you. The doctor is quite right in the usage of the oils. However, the lady that called in about the spine, there is a method called the Alexander method. It was used in '84 at a special conference in Maui, and it was called mind control healing, but yet mind is the scriptural word spirit, 4151 Strong's Greek, and they gave the term cyberphysiology. And you can use the oils and the mind and be able to totally heal the back. I was in a wheelchair. They said I would never walk. I'm a former Green Beret. And you'd be amazed at what I can do. And if you could use or apply that with the oils, which I've used to, but I didn't learn about them till the late middle 80s, even though I was a team medic and basically trained as a doctor. You can't practice and cure in this country. You can only treat a symptom. And so if you can return to the natural oils, as Doc is talking about, and you brought out your show, and you're great, honey. I just love you. But anyway, you have a good night. I'm going to get the thunder out of here. Shalom, prosper, be in great good health. Good night.
Well, thanks so much for your call, White Wolf, and I would love to hear more of your personal story because I was in a situation like that myself as well, so I'd love to talk with you off the air one day if that will work for you. All right, thanks so much for your call. Okay, it looks like I hope these are real calls. Now that we know one of them worked, let's try quickly. Area code 678. Welcome to the show. Okay, not gonna, you know what, I am not gonna answer any more calls tonight because I don't really know what's going on, but I guess it's nice to know that people like us so much they want to interrupt the show. That's not fair because we're getting out some really good information here tonight. So, Dr. Stewart, thank you for your patience. Let me ask you this. Somebody on the chat was asking about what oils would you use for glaucoma?
Well, I'm afraid I can't really offer any helpful advice on that. I know of people have taken frankincense and rubbed it around their eyes. You don't want to put it in your eyes, on the eyebrows above and on the sides, and done that daily and had tremendous improvement in their vision. Now, I don't know if glaucoma was one of the things that was treated that way, but many people have testified to eye improvements. And then there's a juice that we drink. It comes from the Ningxia wolfberries that are native to China, and we drink that juice, also known as goji berries. And numerous people have testified that drinking that every day has improved their eyesight. I know in my case I drink it every day, and I had an eye test about a year ago, and I hadn't had one for 3 years before that. And the eye doctor looked at me and he said, "You know what? The back of your eye is really healthy. It's healthier now than it was 3 years ago. What are you doing?" So.
Wow. Okay, excellent. And I do just want to say this, from my personal experience with eye issues, during my illness, I don't want to bore you with all the gory details, but I ended up losing my eyesight and such, and I found modifilan, the main ingredient being facoidin, which is a brown seaweed. I found later, of course, once again, getting back to the National Library of Medicine, which you can find at pubmed.gov, there's 1,025 published reports of its effectiveness, but the combination of that and carrot juice, fresh carrot juice that you juice yourself every single day, got my eyesight back 100%, including a woman I was blessed to help with pancreatic cancer, who had also, she had been suffering from that for 5 years and was wearing glasses for something like 25 years, and she completely regained her sight as well. Using the same protocol, the juicing and the modifilan. So just kind of want to throw that out there. There's probably many choices that we can use, but for now, my experience is modifilan and carrot juice, and it worked for me. So here's another one on the chat. Dr. Stewart, it says, what are good oils for someone on dialysis for 10 years? Are there any precautions and any good oils from removing trauma from the kidneys?
Well, there is an oil that we have available to us. It's called Trauma Life, and it's a blend of several oils, which which is even used by medics in an emergency situation where you have a person that they are in danger of going into shock and they're lying on the side of the highway, and you can apply that oil and prevent them from going into shock. It's called Trauma Life. It's an emotional oil that helps to relieve the emotions of the trauma. And, of course, if the emotions are not relieved, they will lead to physical maladies. And so there is that one oil that I know of especially for relieving trauma. As far as trauma to the kidneys and dialysis, I'm just now getting a little bit into that because I have a good friend that's had kidney failure a month ago, and she's now on dialysis, and she uses oils. I don't know what she's using, but I know there's some herbal remedies that we have. There's one that our company sells called K&B, which stands for kidney and bladder. And it's an herbal tincture. I'm not sure what herbs are in it. There's some oils in it. But that's really not a subject that I am very knowledgeable on, so I can't say much about it.
Okay, I'll just throw a few out here that are really good for your kidneys, and they're probably growing in your front yard right now. Dandelions, red clover, milk thistle, and nettles. Of course, once again, there's many more, but those come to mind right away. So let me ask you this. Let's say you were in a situation where you had an infection, let's say tetanus or any type of blood infection. What would you choose to use as an antibiotic?
Well, one of the best all-around oils that we use for that purpose is a blend of 5 oils. It's got lemon, clove, cinnamon, eucalyptus, and rosemary in it. And the company name is Thieves for that particular blend of oils. And if you're looking for antibiotic properties, that's the oil that we use first of all. It's available in cough drops. It's available as a mouthwash. It's available as a throat spray. And I've used it in all of those forms, and I always travel with the oil and the lozenges when I'm going in other countries around the world. It's easy to pick up a bug whenever you're changing time zones and flying across the international day line, and your schedule gets all out of whack. And so just by carrying that oil and various products containing it, I can stay healthy.
Okay. I think those are all excellent oils, but I would like to share with you a recent situation that I encountered, Dr. Stewart. I was out of town and got bit by a dog. It lacerated, I can't remember all the names of the tendons or ligaments, but the ones on the top of your hands that you use for your fingers. Looks like I'm going to have to...
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifilan brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifilan. There's nothing else like Modifilan. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifilan banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
They're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back. Last segment here, so thank you all for joining us here with Dr. David Stewart, one of my favorites when it comes to essential oils. So check out some of his books, Healing Oils of the Bible, The Chemistry of Essential Oils, and so much more. You can go to raindroptraining.com or carepublications.net. And I'm not opening the caller line anymore. I just looked at it, and I just want to say not only what you're doing is just silly, childish harassment, it's also illegal. So I do want to thank you because we do have all of your phone numbers logged. But moving on. Okay, so I had this situation where, anyways, I ended up with lacerated tendons and ligaments, and my wrist was totally out of commission. But I had a 2-day drive home, Dr. Stewart, so I wasn't... I was dealing with pain, so I just had to focus on getting home safely and didn't tend to myself as I would have at home. So by the time I got home, I put some oils on the external infection, but I ended up being infected internally. Doctors told me that, you have tetanus. You need to get this tetanus and diphtheria and some other shot, and wanted to give me their antibiotics and painkillers and, of course, surgery, which, I only went. People were worried about me, and honestly, I wanted to know exactly what it was that I was going to be healing from. So I chose to heal myself with only essential oils, and I did have the symptoms of tetanus. I had lockjaw. My spine was, I don't even know how to describe it, but immense pain. I had trouble even going to the bathroom myself, headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, and, passing out type situation. So I was in bed for several days, and I decided, why don't I put some oregano oil with some coconut oil in these capsules I have? So I chose to use oregano oil as my antibiotic of choice, which I took for maybe 4 days, 3 capsules a day, 2 to 3 drops in each capsule, and the tetanus symptoms were gone in 2 days.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and that literally just happened. I'm still healing, so I've been making little update videos and kind of letting people know what I have chosen to do. And as far as the external wound, it's looking absolutely amazing. And I've used only essential oils, also a couple times washing it out with just, H2O2 peroxide. So other than that, I used 100% essential oils, and I was out of bed, all symptoms gone in, literally 2 days. So if you are looking for natural antibiotics, in addition to what you recommended, those are all excellent oils. I happen to really love oregano oil for that as well. So
thank you for reminding me about oregano, because that is one of the most antimicrobial oils in the world. And its cousin, which is thyme oil, which is chemically very similar,
yes.
Is a little milder, but it has many of the same properties. And thyme will even cure anthrax. Could that ever be a problem?
They also, there's studies or discussions going on about thyme's anti-cancer properties as well. So, I hope that the listeners tonight maybe took some notes and all of the oils and everything you've recommended, and are definitely looking into your work, Dr. Stewart, because you really are kind of on the front lines, in my opinion, teaching people about the benefits of essential oils. So in our few remaining minutes, I want to make sure we have time to talk about the Center for Aromatherapy and Research and Education, raindroptraining.com. So what do we have going on there? And how can we get involved? Let's say we want to participate in the Raindrop training.
Well, we have 65 teachers in our faculty. They're all well-trained, and they're good teachers. And we, among the 60 of us, we offer 150 to 200 seminars every year. So there isn't a week in the year that one of our teachers isn't offering a seminar somewhere. Sometimes as many as 7 and 8 seminars in the same week scattered throughout the country. My wife and I teach very few of those classes. We will be teaching one in Branson this year, the 19th and 22nd of November, and that'll probably be the only time that my wife and I will be teaching this year. But all of those seminars are mentioned on the website, raindroptraining.com. And we add new programs every week, so if you don't find a seminar that's in your area now, check back in a month and see if we might have added one. And you can always send us a request to hold a seminar wherever you live, and one of our teachers might be interested in organizing a seminar where you live. So, no.
Okay, all right. Well, you don't have to wait till November to come to Branson.
Yeah, it's always good to come to Branson.
I was just looking at the calendar, and you guys get around. And obviously it's not just you and your wife, but I'm looking at just here in the month of January, there's Minneapolis, South Jordan, Utah, Beasley, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri. Let's see if we can go to February just to let you know of some of the upcoming events. Oops, is it letting me? There we go. Here's February, and this is a full month. You're going to be in Oklahoma, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, New York, Utah again, Ohio. Let's see, another Colorado, another two. Okay, let's see, Tucson and Phoenix, San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Brentwood, Nashville, Tennessee, Downers Grove, Chicago, Illinois, San Diego, Bozeman, Montana, Kingsport, Tennessee. So literally, and I'm just mentioning some of them here, just skimming through this quickly. So literally, wherever you are, there is something going on near you. In March, you have Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Seymour, Tennessee, Thousand Oaks, California, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas. So there's definitely there's something close to you going on. Now, in regards to the care training program, let's say somebody wanted to be a care coordinator or instructor. What would that entail?
Well, the first thing they would need to do is take one of those seminars. That's your introduction. They're pretty comprehensive. They include the healing oils of the Bible. It includes the Vitaflex technique, raindrop technique, the chemistry and science of essential oils, and also emotional releasing with the oils. All that's within the 3 or 4 days of those seminars. And if you want to become a care instructor, that's your first step, is take that seminar, and then they will tell you in the seminar what your next steps would be.
Okay, so get the books, take the seminar, and then we'll find out whatever else we need to do after the seminar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Now, on your books, do you happen to have, say, a bundle deal for somebody who wants all 5 of your books on essential oils?
Well, we don't. That's probably something we should do, but we don't have a bundle price on them at this time. I do have the Healing Oils of the Bible is probably the most popular of all the books I've written, but there's a sequel to that called Healing, God's Forgotten Gift. And it is actually an 8-week Bible study, which has with it a DVD, and each week you study a little different topic on healing as given in the New Testament. And the DVD is played for about 15 minutes, which will be me talking to you to introduce the subject for the day. And there's another DVD for the leader of the group. So we like to, it's meant for like a small group of 6 people to get together once a week. And a lot of churches are doing that program and then repeating the program.
Okay. All right, that's really good to know, and I just want to thank you for all you are doing, you and your wife, and of course the care coordinators. You're definitely highly regarded here in Branson. Well, the ones that don't call us witch doctors, anyways. But hey, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
just a matter of perception. Okay, David, we have about a minute left. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we close this evening?
Well, I will be in Jonesboro, Arkansas tomorrow night. That's the 17th of this month at the Freedom Worship Center in Jonesboro. That's in 1717 Hashbrook Road. I'll be doing a Healing Oils of the Bible program at 6:30, and it's free, so anybody can come to that. And I'll be doing other programs on the Bible oils. I'll do one in Chicago next week on Tuesday night and one in Sardis, Alabama in February the 8th. You can always call the care number, which is given on the care website, raindroptraining.com, and ask about the whereabouts of those programs. And those are just one-night programs on the Healing Oils of the Bible that I will be doing.
Excellent. And again, these are free seminars, right?
Most of them are. I think the one in Chicago next week is not free.
Okay. Okay, but the other ones you mentioned. So just check the calendar. Go to raindroptraining.com. I'm so sorry we have to close. This was so fascinating and fun being with you here again, Dr. David Stewart. Thank you for your time, for sharing that and your wisdom with us. And thank you all for being here tonight. Abundant blessings and love to you all. We will see you tomorrow night with Tobias Lars here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
You're listening to the future of talk. American Freedom Radio. This is American Freedom Radio.